Steve Bunce did this interview with Mike Costello yesterday on BBC Radio 5 Live Sport. And he revealed a rumor, which he's heard, that Wladimir Klitschko is coming back and maybe fighting at Wembley Stadium on April 13th against a big name British heavyweight. But he said that he has heard that it won't be Anthony Joshua and it won't be Tyson Fury. This has led many people to speculate that the only other big name British heavyweight who Bunce could be alluding to is Dillian Whyte. Now, somebody asked Steve Bunce for clarification and asked him directly, is it Dillian Whyte, here on Twitter? And Bunce responded by saying, that is one of the crazy fights to launch this glorious year. It might be bogus news. It might be real. So from Bunce's response there, he hardly denied that it's Dillian Whyte who is the subject of this rumor fighting Klitschko on April 13th. Now, if it does turn out to be true and that it's going to be Klitschko versus Dillian Whyte, how do I feel about it? I was quite a big critic of Wladimir Klitschko for much of his second title reign, but not because I questioned his talent. For much of Klitschko's second title reign, I was a big believer in his talent. And that's what frustrated me about him, because I saw this man who was so talented, and remember, he was trained by Manny Stewart, and Manny Stewart said that Wladimir Klitschko was the most talented heavyweight he'd ever trained. But he said that Wladimir didn't show it in the ring. He kept it in the gym, but held it back in the ring. He said that Lennox Lewis was the greatest heavyweight that he'd ever trained, because Lennox Lewis fought to the best of his ability eventually in the ring, whereas Wladimir was still holding back. So Wladimir didn't fulfill his potential, at least not in Stewart's eyes when Manny Stewart was alive. So that's one thing that used to frustrate me about Wladimir, the fact that he had all this talent and usually had massive physical advantages over his opponents, who were often grossly overmatched, but yet he would still resort to persistent fouling and have all kinds of advantages in his favor, like spongy canvases and, a host of other things. I just couldn't wrap my head around how a man so talented with so many physical advantages could feel like he needed to have all these other extra advantages. Many of them were illegal advantages, particularly with the fouls that he would commit constantly, fight after fight, in the ring, like pushing down on opponents constantly and all that kind of business. But as I say, as much as I criticized Wladimir, I was always an admirer of his talent. And towards the very end of his career, when he fought the likes of Kubrat Pulev, when he fought Anthony Joshua, he showed glimpses of what could have been if he'd had that same kind of heart, really, earlier on in his career. Wladimir got brave towards the very end, towards the very, very end, because he showed bravery in that Kubrat Pulev fight. And yeah, he got off the canvas against Sam Peter and what have you in other fights, but he'd never really gritted his teeth and showed that he could fight through and, get hit with a good shot, go down, and then come thundering back. Against Sam Peter, he kind of whimpered and cowered away. But against Kubrat Pulev, Pulev tried to put it on him, and Wladimir fired back with serious punches, and he obviously did the same against Joshua. So where I'm going with this, people, is long story short, I rate Wladimir Klitschko's talent. And if you're talking about a peak Klitschko, there's only two heavyweights who are around today that I would give a decent chance of beating a prime Wladimir Klitschko. And those two heavyweights are Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. And some people might say, nah, Joshua barely beat a 41-year-old Klitschko. How could you pick him over a prime Klitschko? Well, because Anthony Joshua is still improving. Anthony Joshua is better now than he was when he fought Klitschko, nearly 2 years ago. So I'm thinking about the Joshua we have today versus a prime Klitschko. So yeah, those are the only two. And I'm not saying I would pick him with a massive degree of confidence, but those are the only two heavyweights around today who I would pick over a prime Klitschko. Joshua and Tyson Fury. A wild card, I might say Jarrell Miller, but, you know, we don't know how good Miller is yet, but I'm just looking at stylistically, would Miller be able to pressure Klitschko, get to him, make him work, maybe take him into deep water and drown him, similar to Ross Purity? I don't know, but yeah, I'll stick with the two. Fury and Joshua are the only two I pick to beat a prime Klitschko, or, you know, give a good chance. I wouldn't pick Wilder against a prime Klitschko, I can tell you that. So the question is, has Wladimir Klitschko deteriorated enough for the likes of a Dillian Whyte to be able to beat him if indeed Dillian Whyte does fight him on April 13th? That's the question. Would Dillian Whyte beat the Klitschko who fought Tyson Fury? Or the Klitschko who fought Joshua? What do you guys think? I think that Dillian Whyte is a very smart businessman, but in business, a lot of the time, it's he who dares wins. You have to be willing to take risks in order to reach the next level as a businessman. And Dillian Whyte has shown that he's willing to take risks time and time and time again. He took a risk when he was a young prospect and took on Anthony Joshua. With an injury and without a proper training camp and without a strong team behind him, he took on Joshua, who had Matchroom and Eddie Hearn and all this professional scientific training. Dillian Whyte went ahead with that. It paid off in the long run. He fought people like Lucas Brown, Joseph Parker, Dereck Chisora a second time, and all these gambles at every stage of his career. And yes, Chisora was a gamble, considering how close the first fight was. To be taking on Chisora when you don't have to, when you can wait it out for your title shot, it was a gamble. So to be taking all these gambles, but having these gambles pay off, it shows that Dillian Whyte is smart. But with Klitschko, even though he's been out the ring, let's say 2 years by the time he gets in there against Dillian Whyte on April 13th, has Dillian Whyte bitten off more than he can chew, even against a 42-year-old Klitschko? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What kind of fight are you expecting if it happens? Will you be shocked if it gets officially announced? Do you think it's maybe a smokescreen coming from Steve Bunce, BT Sport? And when I say smokescreen, I mean, maybe that's not the right way to describe it, but Steve Bunce works for BT Sport. Maybe he's trying to throw some uncertainty out there because most of the British public who are looking forward to a fight at Wembley on April 13th are wanting to see Anthony Joshua. Dillian Whyte has gained a lot of popularity over the past year, but he's still not on AJ's level, is he? He ain't filling out stadiums by himself. So maybe Bunce is trying to put the uncertainty out there and make people think subconsciously, yeah, it's not going to be AJ at all. You know, getting them disappointed from now. Or maybe it's got nothing to do with that. Maybe it is a genuine rumor that Steve Bunce has heard. I'm just throwing the ideas out there and letting you guys discuss it. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Is there any validity to this rumor? Do you think this is going to happen? And if it does happen, who will you be picking? What kind of fight do you think it's going to be? And if Wladimir Klitschko was to come out victorious, would he target a rematch with Joshua? Would he target a rematch with Fury? Or would he go for Deontay Wilder? You know, it really puts the likes of Deontay Wilder to shame if Dillian Whyte can take on a Wladimir Klitschko, but Deontay Wilder still to this day won't step in the ring with a man. And like I say, if Dillian Whyte was to do it and let's say Wilder fights his mandatory Dominic Breazeale, who the WBC haven't imposed on him yet, as far as I'm aware, which means he could have fought Klitschko, right, instead of Dominic Breazeale. If you can't get the Fury fight done, let's say he goes and fights Breazeale, maybe he could have fought Klitschko. I mean, who knows? To be fair, is Klitschko even ranked? Probably not, but you know how corrupt boxing is. Klitschko will come back and, just like Tyson Fury, hey presto, he gets ranked without even fighting anybody with a pulse. That's how it goes in boxing. I mean, not that Klitschko has to be ranked to fight Dillian Whyte, because Dillian Whyte is not a world champion, so he can fight whoever he likes, as far as I'm aware. If it's going to be for one of Dillian Whyte's trinkets, then maybe Klitschko would have to be ranked, but I don't think Dillian Whyte cares too much about those trinkets. And I don't think Dillian Whyte has to, or I don't think Dillian Whyte will be stripped of any of his trinkets, his WBC silver or whatever it is, if he fights Klitschko, you know. So, yeah, it would be a good feather in Dillian Whyte's cap if he was to beat Klitschko, even though Klitschko is 42 years old and he's 2 years after the loss to Anthony Joshua. We know Klitschko still keeps himself in shape. You know, I'm not trying to sit here and pretend to any of you that this is anything like a prime Klitschko. I'm not trying to sit here and pretend to any of you that we can say this is as good as the Klitschko who fought Joshua, or this is as good as the Klitschko who fought Fury. I'm definitely 100% not saying any of that. But on paper, yeah, even though he's coming off 2 losses and 2 long bouts of inactivity, it would still look good on Dillian Whyte's resume to have the name Wladimir Klitschko there. And again, as old as Klitschko is, I still don't think, even if Dillian Whyte was to win, I still don't think it would be easy for him. And who's to say he would win? I saw some very, very short clips of Wladimir Klitschko sparring over the past couple years, and he still looked pretty good. I know you can't tell much from very, very short clips of sparring, but, you know, he's still in shape. We know that. He definitely hasn't let himself go and gone overweight and all that kind of business. No, and he's still in the gym and he's still training. We know this. So we'll see how it goes. If Wladimir was to win, as I say, would he target Joshua, Fury? Would he target Wilder? If he did target Wilder, would Wilder finally take it? Would he finally step in the ring with the man? We'll see. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.